We're pleased to present Mike Ingram from Shadin. Let's face it, there's so much happening right now, and especially when it comes to critical issues with aircraft like those that you're working with. Tell me what's new at Shadin, what's the latest and greatest?
Yeah, so we're busy. We have a lot going on. We've focused on older aircraft as well as some new aircraft opportunities. But yesterday at the new product introduction, I introduced 3 new products. I can go over that right now. Please. If you like. So yeah, the first product was what we call DeRalt, so digital to analog radio altimeter converter. And what that does is it enables aircraft that are being upgraded with a new radio altimeter that has the 5G interference protection, especially for older aircraft. There was a couple ADs that came out last year for rotorcraft and for aircraft, for air transport airlines. Those were all quickly upgraded to have the proper radio altimeter to be able to do precision approaches and things like that into airports. But there's another part of that fleet that's not completely upgraded yet, and that's really what we're targeting. So taking an ARINC 429 signal and sending it out on a analog that would connect into flight data recorder, into a flight control system, or into an analog indicator for radio altimeter. So some of the older aircraft have the old displays. And then also some of the call-outs, so the trip points where it says 100 feet, 50 feet, 20 feet. Those all would take data off of or through our converter and be able to translate that to the pilot's headset.
That's an interesting differentiation from what you're normally known for. But right now, the 5G interference issue, which should never have happened because you know the wrong people got paid off at the right time, or so it seems. I'm amazed that that situation was allowed to exist as it stood, because there's still such a hazard out there for folks who think they're safe but are not. So I'm glad to see there's an active effort to cover all the bases. How do you do that technologically? What is the basis for how you are providing an anti-interference strategy?
Yeah, so the radio altimeter, either from a Honeywell, Collins, there's a few other providers of the altimeter itself, they shrink down the band that the radio altimeter operates in. So when they're receiving that radio altimeter signal, they're filtering out the 5G that is in an adjacent band on the radio frequency. Okay. So, like I said, the data coming off of that, telling the aircraft, you know, what height it is above ground, that ARINC 429 data goes to newer type of displays. You know, you think of the Collins Fusion system or the Honeywell systems or Garmin systems out there. They all take that digital data, that ARINC 429 data, and can process it and display it to the pilot or have the call-outs. It's the older aircraft, and that's where our converter comes in. It's taking that digital data and putting analog outputs to older analog type displays and annunciators.
Outstanding. Very cool.
Yeah. So there's, you know, like I said, most of the market. Yeah, there was the whole, you know, seeing the train coming from 10 miles away that the FCC and the FAA just didn't get off the tracks. They finally got off. There was a couple ADs that were put out, and those were very well responded to by the airlines and by most of the market. It's just some of these older aircraft that still have those older displays that we're going after. So that's product number 1.
Okay, and product number 2, jump on.
Yeah, there you go. Is the AAS 450. So this is an attitude converter, so roll, pitch, and heading, that takes a digital input signal for the attitude signals and will output synchro outputs to either a flight control or it's a flight data recorder. It's different other things that have synchro outputs that need it, that we haven't upgraded, or the airplane hasn't upgraded to some of the newer avionics type displays or systems. So this is a product that we had and have had in production for a while, but it's been primarily best responded to on rotorcraft. And what we've done is we've made some significant improvements to increase the resolution of the data. So it's a nice, smooth response to the outputs that would be used by the autopilot, for example, going from a laser ref 2 or 4 or LITEF or other inertial navigation system to the flight control system. So we've tested it. They're collecting data on it right now. So far, the responses have been really positive, and we expect that this newest version to be in full production here in the next few weeks.
Interesting. Okay, and where and how will it be utilized?
So it's one of those black boxes that's in the belly of the aircraft. It would go next to an inertial nav system. So one of the things that is happening is Honeywell with their laser ref 4 are basically obsoleting some of their early laser refs. So they're forcing everybody to go to this laser ref 4, which is out of some people's budget, or they don't want to spend that amount. So they could use an alternative, and with that alternative, they could use our converter box to be able to have those synchro outputs.
Sounds like a money saver.
That's what we're trying to do.
There you go. Gotta like that. And
there was a Skylight product out there too, Dash 03 that did this, and obviously Skylight is not around anymore, so we're helping to fill that gap that's out there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So product number 3 is our fuel flow transducer. So this is a low flow. We call it a low flow transducer. Go basically from 0 gallons per hour to about 60 gallons per hour. This goes in Part 23, Class 1 and 2 type aircraft, small piston engine aircraft. Some features of this, so before I step into the features, this will replace some of the, say, systems out there that use, like, say, a flow scan type transducer.
Okay.
And why this is better, there's a few improvements on this. One is it has AN fittings versus pipe fittings. So this gets delivered with these fittings as opposed to an adapter that you'd have to put on for a flow scan.
All right.
This is also made out of stainless steel. So with some of the other alternatives out there, they're made out of aluminum that would have to go into a firebox to protect that aluminum from the heat and melting. So this is, what you're looking at here is exactly how it would go in the airplane.
Okay.
And the last thing I want to highlight, and there's some other things, but this has a programmable K factor. So if you have an aircraft system that has a predefined K factor, which is a constant for the gallons per hour, you tell us what that K factor is, and we can ship you this with that specific K factor.
Oh, all set and ready to go, huh?
All set and ready to go.
Bolted in, fuel it up.
Pretty much.
There you go.
Yep. So, there's some mounting holes here. There's wrench flats here, so you can get a good torque on the connector onto the AN fittings here, and you should be good to go. So
Very
this
cool.
This is currently in flight test and in being certified now. We're looking for it to be starting to deliver in Q3 of this year.
What airframes are we likely to see this on?
So a lot of the airframes, it'll be able to go on just about any airframe, but likely on Cirrus SR-20, 22 turbos, Robinson helicopters, some Cessna aircraft. So it has a pretty good list of aircraft that the existing Shadin low flow transducer is on, the flow scan version.
Very cool. You guys have been busy.
Yeah, we've been investing in some new products, which has been a lot of fun.
Well, sitting back only obsoletes you, so smart
That's right.
move. So what is happening overall with the company? What's the general outlook? What are you doing? Are you hiring? What's your experience been like with that? Because that's a major theme here this week.
Right. We have a full backlog of business. We're very busy. Engineers and production are very busy keeping up with the amount of orders that we have. So it's going to be another growth year. We had a good growth year in 2023 from a profitability and a top line revenue perspective, and we do expect that to be carrying forward into 2024. We started the year strong. We're delivering a few products to some AAM customers. We do a lot of engineering services. So we'll get a requirement set from a customer, we'll bid on it, and then we'll get that work either as a firm fix or a time materials contract, and then we'll have scheduled milestones for 6, 9, 12 months and deliver along that schedule with some production afterwards. So we have, like I said, a pretty good amount of work in there. We're always looking for more work to fill the back end of the year. So we're doing targeted hiring, if you will. I'm being careful about hiring too many because you know the world is uncertain, as you know, and you know, especially being an election year, you don't know exactly what the economy is going to look like.
Yeah.
So
Eek.
it looks good for the first half of the year for us and into Q3, but I'm just being careful about hiring too many.
Yeah. After that, crapshoot.
It should be an interesting year, that's for sure.
More interesting than I wish it would be, but we shall see. How are you feeling about the industry overall and your place in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole COVID rebound, I think, is stabilizing. You know, from a supply chain perspective, from a growth perspective, you know, we'd love to see obviously some of the things like inflation and other, you know, cost of fuel and things like that come down. But, you know, we seem to be stabilizing on airline travel. You know, there's more people traveling places. You know, going back from working remotely to back in the office. Those are all positives in my perspective. You know, there's still some challenges within the FAA. You know, where it's great that they have a new administrator. That's, you know, big success.
Yeah, he's a good guy too.
Yeah, we need to get it funded.
Have his work cut out for him.
Oh yeah, you know, I think a lot of people in the industry are feeling you know, I don't want to say lack of response, but it takes longer to do different FAA certifications, and that's partly some of the challenges that companies like Boeing have put onto the FAA, and you know, we're working through those. We have a really good relationship with our ACO, so we haven't seen much of an impact from Shadin's perspective, but I'm optimistic about the market. I'm optimistic about the industry. I'm excited about the technology that's coming out and making flying safer and getting more people in the skies.
For the longest period of time, you folks were known mostly for fueling technology, and you branched out in so many ways that, you know, actually long before now, from what I recall. How do you transmit the message that you are also an engineering company, that you are a solutions company? Because what you're telling me right now is exactly that. Mm-hmm. Does this industry really know you for what you are right now?
That's a good question.
We try. I'm allowed one a day.
So Shadin is known a lot of different ways by just about everybody. You know, some people think that we're an air data company. Some people think that we're a fuel flow company. Others, data conversion. So, but we go and we build relationships. We go talk to people at some of the major OEMs and at some of the maintenance companies, and we listen to them and we tell them about ourselves. And so when they're looking for a solution, that's another way that we're known for, that we can bring that full solution to them, to take a project that's basically a set of requirements, do a hardware design, do a software design, and do all the certification and bring it to market. And many customers know that of us. I hope to spread more of that. Maybe this video will help us do that. But that's a big part of our business. But I'm also trying to take the business and drive more products into manufacturing. So we're investing in things like fuel flow, and we have some other things up, you know, kind of behind closed doors that we're working on to drive more.
Never mind.
Maybe next year.
Yeah. Are there aspects of the industry though that really intrigue you? Things you're not doing that you'd like to look at, or for that matter, people doing things that intrigue you from the standpoint of, yeah, you do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time for technology. You know, I think there's some really cool, innovative companies out there doing some really interesting stuff. Obviously, the whole AAM space is, whether it's successful or not is another thing, but it's driving more technology and innovation into the space.
Well, I think it's going to be the most valuable part of it. I mean, let's face it, 90% of it's a pipe dream.
Right.
And I can say that even for the fact I'm doing flight tests in that arena now. And, you know, a lot of money and a lot of good ideas. And a lot of these things are going to fail miserably. But what we will derive in terms of, well, we know this works and that doesn't work. And the new technologies that will be able to be adapted to different levels and different kinds of aviation, that's payroll. That is, I mean, we've watched certain cycles like that throughout aviation and other industries. And I think that's going to be the biggest benefit. I think a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, but the winners are going to win big.
Yeah. No, and I love the aspects of it that relate to safer flying, and how you can integrate certain parts of machine learning and auto functions, whether it's an autopilot or auto throttles. Those different aspects that make somebody who becomes a pilot and say doesn't fly for a few weeks not afraid to get back in the cockpit, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges. Is you go from most pilots feel like they have to fly multiple times a week or a month in order to stay safe behind the yoke, and I think we're seeing a lot of that, where potentially someday a pilot will be replaced by more an observer, somebody who's watching their plane fly or even file a flight plan and be able to feel more comfortable behind the wheel. And if they screw up, the airplane's going to catch them. So there's different companies out there doing some of that. One of them I think about is Skyrise. I think is super interesting. They have a lot of investment money too. Dedalian working with some artificial intelligence, machine learning type algorithms.
Yeah, they've been mentioned a couple of times here today.
Yeah, so it's I'm excited. I'm optimistic for where this is going.
Very cool. Mike, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with Aero-News at our AEA live streaming webcast. We are going to finish up the day.
Awesome.
Finish up with the best, right?
There you go.
We appreciate everything.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 67th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Grapevine, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Working with GoGo has been very easy.
Great partnership, growth, it's been great.
Reliable network and a reliable system to install.
The upgrade, 100% worth it.